Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching a special broadcast here on DD India. We'll devote the next 30 minutes to taking questions from you, the viewer, so that you get accurate information about the coronavirus outbreak. Two special guests join me in the studio to bust myths about coronavirus and give you facts so that you know what it takes to be on top of the news. Our telephone lines now are open. The numbers are, and we'll flash those numbers on your screens just momentarily. 011 2309 7663. A second number is 011 2338 6682. And the third number is 011 2309 7620. I repeat, 011 2309 7663, 011 2338 6682 and 011 2309 7620. Now 011 is the code for New Delhi, and in case you happen to be living outside India, then please prefix +91 or dial 0091. All right, let's get started. Let me quickly introduce my guest to you. Joining me is Dr. Anil Gurtu, Head of the Department of Medicine at Lady Hardinge Medical College, New Delhi. Also with me is Dr. Nikhil Tandon, Professor of Endocrinology at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Welcome to you, gentlemen. All right, glad you could join us. Appreciate it. Let's get started with questions. If any of our callers are joining us, we'll keep flashing those numbers on the bottom of our screens. There you go. 011 2309 7663, 2338 6682 and 2309 7620. All right, I'm told we have the first caller on standby. Mohit is joining us from Rampur in Uttar Pradesh. Mohit, आपका सवाल क्या है?
हेलो हेलो
मोहित, अगर आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है तो प्लीज अपना सवाल पूछें.
हेलो जी सर, मेरा सवाल ये है सर, जो लोगों ने कुछ इस टाइप से अफवाह उड़ा सकते हैं.
All right, we'll try to fix that audio line with Mohit in Rampur, Uttar Pradesh momentarily. But if I can go to my guest in the studio, if I can start with you, Dr. Gurtu, I'll try to keep it very simple so that viewers get the facts and not any inaccurate information. Let's start with the basic questions agitating the minds of many people in India and around the world today. For instance, who should wear a mask, and if so, what kind of mask, please?
It would be, I'll just reframe the question into a more wider, to give it a wider frame.
Right.
Who should not wear a mask?
All right.
Which is virtually everyone. Everyone should not be wearing a mask except only two types of people who should be wearing the mask. One, if you are unwell, you have respiratory, nose, throat or lungs, cough, cold, fever, then you should be wearing a mask. It's mandatory to prevent others from catching the infection, what we call social distancing, as it's the new norm.
All right, Dr. Gurtu, if I can just pause you there, we have a caller joining us from Odisha. Can I have the name again, please? If I can ask my producers to tell me the name of the caller joining us from Odisha. All right. Okay, I'm told it's Sanjeet Sahu from Odisha. Go on, please ask your question.
Hello, hello. Hello.
If you can hear me, Mr. Sahu, please ask your question now.
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir. सर मेरा ये कहना था कि
क्या आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है, और अगर आप मुझे सुनाई दे रहे हैं तो प्लीज अपना सवाल पूछिए. हमारे स्टूडियो में डॉक्टर गुर्टू हैं और डॉक्टर टंडन जो आपके सवालों के जवाब के लिए तैयार बैठे हैं, तो अपना सवाल अगर पूछना चाहें तो यही मौका है.
सर मुझे ये जानना था कि व्हिच सिस्टम द
Right, I'm told we've lost that link with Mr. Sahu in Odisha. Uh, Dr. Gurtu, if you could want to finish your intervention there.
So, as I was
Hello.
saying, and I repeat it,
Sure.
you should not be wearing a mask unless you are yourself suffering from some cold, cough with fever, one,
Right.
and two, if you are caring for someone in your home who has cough, cold and fever
Right.
or this thing. Otherwise, if you are healthy, please do not wear a mask. It's not required. Healthcare professionals and all, yes, but that's a separate category and they
Right.
know when and when not to and what to do.
Right.
I'm talking of ordinary people like
Indeed.
us. Yeah.
Right. So Dr. Gurtu says the default option for all of us is not to wear a mask. So please do not panic. Do not go on a buying spree of masks. This is not the time for getting panicky. Things are under control, and the government is taking steps. In fact, we are ahead of the curve, as the government says, in trying to contain and combat coronavirus. Right. So we've tackled the issue of who should not wear a mask. The second question, Dr. Tandon, is who should get tested or who should not get tested. If somebody wants to get themselves tested, where do they go to, and what might be the costs involved?
So I think we've now come up with new information. We're saying that this disease has reportedly 4 phases. We're supposedly in phase
Dr.
2.
Tandon, sorry, may I just
Sure.
stop you there, if
Sure.
you don't mind?
Not at all.
Mr. Bharat Bhushan is joining us on the phone line from Jammu. Mr. Bhushan, if you can hear me, please ask your question. भारत भूषण जी, अगर आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है तो अपना सवाल पूछें। भारत भूषण जी, क्या आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? All right, we've lost that link again, unfortunately. Dr. Tandon, if you can address the question of who should get tested and who should not.
So at the moment, as we are given to understand from the experts in the field, we're in this sort of phase 2 of this disease, which means that all people who've been identified with the disease have had either themselves traveled to places where they could have picked up the disease, or been in direct contact with somebody who has traveled to such a place and picked up disease. So it's not home spread, it's people who brought it in, and therefore if you've contacted them, you're more likely to have got it. So given that scenario, if you have symptoms suggestive of the disease, of which, as we're upper respiratory symptoms in the form of a dry cough, fever, and of course the most worrisome symptom which happens is, which is breathlessness, which is indicative of the fact that you're now getting a lung problem, and you've had a prior contact with somebody whom you then found out to have had travel there, or who themselves a few days before have gone down with the disease, you need to report to a designated center. Now, instead of listing those centers, that's information which is available, because only if you go to those centers will you be triaged, sampled, and then kept in quarantine if so required. And the samples are then sent to designated centers which can do the test. And that's how the situation is today. At the moment, private labs are not yet operational. I'm sure with passage of time, the government will ensure that too.
Sure. Let's pause there a bit, Dr. Tandon and Dr. Gurtu. Sumit Srivastav is now joining us on the phone line. Sumit Srivastav, please ask your question.
Okay, hi sir. This is Sumit Srivastav from Faridabad. Actually,
Sumit Srivastav, if you can hear me, please go ahead and ask your question. सुमित श्रीवास्तव जी, अगर आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है तो अपना सवाल पूछें। I'm afraid we're not able to connect with our callers. We'll try to get as many callers in as possible over the next few minutes. Continuing our discussion in the studio, the next obvious question, Dr. Gurtu, is about the quarantine process. Now, what should one do when he or she is told to quarantine themselves? What does it entail?
So we are referring to home quarantine.
Right.
Home. There is, of course, institutional quarantine and appropriate, but here we're talking of the home. First is who should be under home quarantine.
Okay.
Who? these are the people who have as yet not developed any symptom. You should be without symptoms, asymptomatic. No fever, no cough, no breathlessness.
Okay.
Basically, no fever, no cough, both together. They should not be there. If you are symptomatic, you should not be, as of today, in a home quarantine. You should be in a hospital, admitted. As of today, these will change as the situation changes.
Right.
So, you should be asymptomatic and plus have had some form of exposure to, in terms of time, place and person, which Dr. Nikhil Tandon just referred to, having had come into contact with someone with a high likelihood or a definitive exposure or disease COVID. So, you should be in home quarantine if you are without symptoms and with a positive contact history suggestive of risk of exposure. That. Now, what should you do?
Right.
Home quarantine, put very simply, is nothing but social distancing carried out within the premises of home, which means that the same principles which were just enumerated, social distancing, 1 meter or 3 feet distance between beds, between people, maintained all the time. 2, if feasible, a separate room or a separate enclosed space is available. Put that person, let that person live in that. Only one designated family member enters and exits and takes care. Others are out of that space. If that is not possible, as is quite likely in our social circumstances where many more people share a limited space, try to keep at least 1 meter or 3 feet of distance between people, beds, seating, whatever. The second thing is the utensils, all that I use if I am socially quarantined in my house, all the items that I use, from plates to glasses to everything, cutleries, they should, my clothes should be separate. They should be washed, and anyone who enters my room should be protected by an ordinary 3-layer surgical mask, gloves. I should also wear a mask if I am under quarantine, and this mask should change every 6 to 8 hourly, earlier if it gets wet. And disposal should be separate and not mixed up. So, the mixing whether of plates or of persons should be avoided and separated, and usual hand hygiene and all those things should be followed.
Right. Bhaskar Rao from Hyderabad is joining us on the phone line. Bhaskar Rao, if you can hear my voice, please go ahead and ask your question to our guests in the studio, Dr. Gurtu and Dr. Tandon. Bhaskar Rao?
Good evening to you all. I have a small doubt about COVID-19. What's the maximum temperature the
Mr. Bhaskar Rao
COVID-19
in Hyderabad, if you can hear me, please go ahead and ask your question now.
I'm first of all, good evening to you all.
I'm afraid again we're not able to connect with our callers. We'll try to fix that audio line in just a bit. But coming to the more question that people are asking in India and around the world these days, Dr. Tandon, is there any vaccine or medicine available to combat coronavirus?
So, as of now, there is no vaccine. I think we must put things in perspective. This is an absolutely novel disease. I mean, we didn't even know the virus existed till maybe early January when the sequence was released. I'm sure there are several organizations which are in the business at the moment of developing a vaccine, but vaccine development has a process, right? And even if you fast track that process before it becomes in a situation that you are convinced that it's effective, it will take a year, maybe longer, for that vaccine to become available for mass use. In terms of medicines, again, there are trials which are ongoing based on the experience of similar medicines in viruses of a similar nature. And again, that should be information which is clearly available earlier than the vaccine development, because you're trying older medicines, and hopefully in 2 or 3 months we may have better answers on the second question, that is about the medication for this disease.
All right. We are entertaining questions from our viewers. Let me repeat those numbers for you once again. It's 011-2309-7663, That's the first number. The second number is 011 2338 6682. Those numbers are flashing on the screens right now. The third number is 011 2309 7620. Keep your questions coming in. But let's pause here a bit and talk about another aspect of this entire issue. Now, Hindi cinema actor Amitabh Bachchan has shared a video. In it, he talks about the do's and don'ts about coronavirus. Listen in.
मैं हूं अमिताभ बच्चन। देखिए, हम सब मिलकर नोवल कोरोना वायरस या कोविड-19 को फैलने से रोक सकते हैं। इसके लिए हमें बचाव के कुछ तरीके अपनाने होंगे। खांसते या छींकते समय हमेशा अपने मुंह को रुमाल से या टिश्यू से ढकें। इस्तेमाल किए हुए टिश्यू को तुरंत ढक्कनदार कचरे के डब्बे में डाल दें। अपनी आंख, नाक और मुंह को हाथ से न छुएं। आप अपने हाथों को समय समय पर साबुन और पानी से लगभग 20 सेकंड तक धोएं। भीड़ भाड़ वाली जगह पर जाने से बचें। अगर आपको खांसी, बुखार या सांस लेने में तकलीफ हो रही है तो आप दूसरों से दूरी बनाए रखें। ऐसे लक्षण दिखने पर तुरंत अपने डॉक्टर से सलाह लें। अस्पताल में आप अपने मुंह पर मास्क या रुमाल जरूर रखें। अधिक जानकारी के लिए स्वास्थ्य एवं परिवार कल्याण मंत्रालय की एक हेल्पलाइन है 011 239 784046। अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए हमारी मदद कीजिए।
All right, so we are talking to our guest in the studio, Dr. Anil Gurtu and Dr. Nikhil Tandon, to answer your questions on the coronavirus outbreak. We've addressed the question of who should wear a mask or who should not wear a mask. We've spoken about who should get themselves tested or not. We've also spoken about quarantine and medicines which are not available, unfortunately, as of date. The next question, Dr. Gurtu, is when we talk about cleanliness and washing our hands, would soap help or should one insist on a alcohol-based hand sanitizer?
Soap and water, nothing beats it.
Okay.
Alcohol also is not as good because soap and water, it gets into every crevice, every small space between the fingers, between the nails and the fingers, everywhere, and it cleans it up.
I see.
It's an excellent alcohol-based rubs, 60 to 70% alcohol, are to be used only and only under situations where it is not feasible to go for a soap water wash. Otherwise, soap and water wash 40 seconds is the best. Nothing beats it.
All right. That's put very lucidly, Dr. Gurtu. If I can come to you now, Dr. Tandon, help our viewers understand these basic fundamental questions or queries. How does coronavirus spread? Is it by touch or contact? Is it by sneezing or coughing? What is the answer to this question?
So, the dominant method of spreading is by touch. So, basically, and that's why this repeated sort of clarification about hand washing, so that even if you acquire virus by touching an object which it contained, your hands are clean, because the concern is that if you take your hands to the face where the nose, the mouth and the eyes are potential portals of infection, that means the infection can enter from there, that's a problem. And therefore, A, you should keep your hands clean. B, even if they are clean, and we hope they are, avoid taking them near the face, because that's where you're likely to get the virus entering. You can have infection through sneezing and coughing, and as I think the distance of a meter has been repeatedly mentioned.
Should people, for instance, avoid public transport, metros, for instance?
You see, it depends. Clearly, if it's a very crowded metro and somebody sneezes directly on you, you will be at risk. I don't think we can trivialize that. But otherwise, in a normal setting, if there's an adequate space and there isn't a direct spray on your face, you should be fine.
All right. I'm afraid we're running out of time. So, very quickly, Dr. Gurtu, who is vulnerable to coronavirus? Is it the elderly? Is it the people with low immunity? Is it women? Is it children? Who is susceptible to coronavirus?
Two I will answer that in two
Sure.
sentences. As far as vulnerability in terms of acquiring coronavirus infection, all of us.
I see.
But in terms of outcomes, having acquired the infection, some of us have far more bad, negative, adverse outcomes than others. Who are these? That is the question.
Right.
Vulnerable we all are, so we all must take precautions equally. But
Sure.
having acquired it, those who are above the age of 60 and those who have an underlying comorbid condition like diabetes, heart disease, chronic lung conditions, asthma, or on immunosuppressive disease, drugs like steroids and
Right.
all. So, or pregnant women, they are more likely to get adverse or
Sure.
negative or bad outcomes if should they acquire this infection.
Right. Dr. Tandon, very quickly, what about diabetics? I mean, should they take particular caution or care?
Yeah. So I think everybody should take precautions, but I think people, as Dr. Gurtu mentioned, the category of people, especially those with diabetes, should realize the fact that their likelihood of that infection, if they do acquire it, becoming a serious infection is more than somebody who doesn't have diabetes. So they're
Right.
not, perhaps they're not significantly at a higher risk of getting the infection, but once, if unfortunately they do get the infection, they're more likely to get a serious or a more severe infection. And therefore, that category of individuals just listed by Dr. Gurtu must take extra precautions that they don't catch the bug.
All right, fair point. Dr. Tandon and Dr. Gurtu, thank you so much for making time to be on DD India and answer the most common questions that agitates many a mind in India today. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this special broadcast. But news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.